Hey, please welcome to the show, Jeanette, Jurado, and Ann. Hey.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Hey there.
We're going to have the challenge of trying to tell who is who talking here.
You'll figure it out.
This is a fun game to play.
Right.
Hey, thank you so much for talking to us. Look, I can say this. This is the only time I'm going to allow myself to sound like an old man relative to Violet. Otherwise, I try to just sound like I'm cool and hip. I've been a fan of yours for, at least 30 years now, over 30 years. As a young man, I was a DJ in the 1980s as a young teen and spinning your records. And so I associate so much of your music with that time. And so it's exciting for me to talk to you. And I imagine Violet's thrilled too, because when the two of us got together and said, who would we like to talk to from this era? Both of us said Exposé. So,
So Violet, maybe you're an old soul going back to the 80s like that, but I
get
think
that a lot.
it was a very fun time, and but people like waited for your next song to come out. They really cared, they like read the liner notes, and it's just kind of a different deal,
Yeah, definitely.
So Violet, if you had to do it all over again, do you feel like you wish that you were born in the 60s and 70s so you could experience music in the 80s? And that's funny. My son, who's he's a young adult. He felt like he should have been born in the early 1800s or something. He's really
I have a friend like that too. Yeah,
really retro, more than retro, and that kind of that steampunk thing.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, bummer. Sorry, cannot change the time.
So the three of you collectively here, as Exposé, were part of a genre of music that was. I think this is always fascinating. In the 1980s, we had a lot of innovation, and certainly in music. In the 1980s, hip hop became huge. It didn't really exist until then, really the late 70s. But similarly, freestyle music, born in the sort of early 1980s, and then Latin freestyle, sort of a subgenre, was coming out in the 1980s. So before that existed, though, what was the music that you, I guess, each individually were drawn to? What sort of music were you guys into?
Who wants to go first?
You go ahead, Joya.
Okay. Well, I was singing in a band from the age of 16, and I sang a lot of Linda Ronstadt and Pat Benatar. I was the chick singer in the band, but I loved listening to like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Yes, and Led Zeppelin. I was kind of a real rocker, so when Exposé popped into my life, I was like, "What is dance music?" Because we don't really, I don't call it freestyle. I think maybe there was one freestyle sort of a song, but we really crossed over into pop. So, dance pop to me was, I don't know, I didn't have a clue. And then I heard "Let Me Be the One," and I thought, I think I can handle that. Let's see. It was a little different. But now I just love, love, love our music. When we're on stage, it's like amazing, I don't listen to it all the time, but when we're up there, it's just like in our DNA, I think. 36 years, guys.
Yes, but who's counting? Yes.
I blame myself for starting that conversation.
And I was kind of I loved traditional pop music, even prior to the 80s. And then I got into some, Heart was one of my favorite groups. I mean, my God, Ann Wilson is, she is amazing. She's probably my favorite female vocalist. And then I went to University of Miami, the music school there, and I really got into jazz and then R&B, like with Shaka Khan and Stevie Wonder. So I too, when I joined the group, it was almost out of genre for me in terms of what I listened to a lot and aspired, to sound like, really. But it's the music is so catchy. The songs are so fun. And I think that if I weren't in the group, I would really love the group. I really do. I think when those songs come on the radio, and if I were outside of it, I would just love listening to it. So, and the bonus was that I got to work with Jeanette and Joya. So,
Aw, that's sweet, Anna.
I love you. I love you.
Love fest.
Okay, so I grew up listening mostly to Barbra Streisand. And love Linda Ronstadt, and pretty much any singer that was a belter. You know what I mean? You can even throw Judy Garland in there, and I was singing along. And my first band, when I was 15, I joined a band, and they had a 4-piece horn section. So, yeah, I had to learn how to belt really early if I wanted people to hear me. And we did mostly R&B stuff. I think the 2 bands I was in prior to Exposé, I was singing mostly R&B. In fact, my first band, which was called Brandy back in Los Angeles, we're actually doing a date together in June. And I know, isn't that funny? And we're doing a couple of the old stuff that we did. And I'm thinking, geez, who do you guys anybody remember the band Sky?
Sky.
No.
Yeah, they had a song called Call Me. Call me if you need someone to talk to. Anybody?
Nope.
No, look it up.
Well, there you go. That's why the band didn't stay together, because we did stuff like that. But yeah, mostly R&B, and anything you can dance to. So the whole Exposé music, when I was invited to come out to Florida and record, I just was in love with the music already, because you could dance to it, and those are the types of bands that I was working with.
It's interesting. You know, Jeanette, you sort of said anticipated what I mean. You didn't know I was going to say this. I came to the same conclusion. You all sort of chose, you know, these strong female singers that really can belt, and ultimately, it seems like obviously that serves you well on your music, because maybe good music is just good music, whether you call it, you know, dance pop or it's R&B or freestyle, as you know, as again some folks would categorize some of your music. So at the time, since and some of you weren't familiar with the music at all, did you appreciate the fact that you were part of something new? Did it seem like that at the time you're recording this music and start performing it?
Gioia here. I think something new. I mean, well, obviously to all 3 of us, it was kind of something new. Maybe not Jeanette, but I mean, it was different with the kind of the Latin rhythms, the congas, the bongos, and all of that. But I still remember when Jeanette and I think Jay, were we listening? We heard it on the radio, and it was just mind blowing. Like we were just like, oh my God, you know, and just I think that's when, because I hadn't heard anything out there like us. I mean, I really think that we're the very first 3-girl group who just pulled dance music up out of Latin rhythms, and it just wasn't just disco or something. Not that disco's bad, but you know what I mean? Like it was different. It had a different vibe altogether. And being from South Florida, or I mean, you know, starting out there, I mean, it's such a melting pot of people in all kinds of flavors, Latino flavors. I mean, it's just like everything is different. It's not like just one thing. It's not like just mariachi music. It's just whatever works. And it blew my socks off back then, because who would have ever thought, you know, that you would be pulled out of all of the women in the world and dropped into this little place with these other 2 women who were equally pulled out of what? And then here we are 36 years later, just loving it, enjoying our girls' weekends. But like it still is exciting, I think, is what I'm trying to say when I hear it or when we're performing it, as it was the very first time I heard it. Like
I don't know if I considered it a new sound, but I guess it was. I mean, you know, hindsight, looking back on it now.
Yeah.
I guess it was, you know, that keyboard sound or the synthesizer sounds and the drums and all the electronic stuff. I guess it kind of started with the whole new wave thing. But yeah, ours was just a little different,
Do you think? I'm sorry.
More. Go ahead.
Well, I just think that as far as 3-girl groups go, I hadn't really even thought about a 3-girl group until we kind of came out with our stuff. Because you would think about, sure, the 3-girl groups in the 50s and the 60s, but nothing beyond that. Like, were there 3-girl groups in the 70s? I don't know. I think it was mostly 50s.
Pointer Sisters.
Who?
The Pointer Sisters.
The Pointer Sisters.
Yeah, but they were sisters.
They were born into it. Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't count, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
So, Joy, you mentioned, and Jeanette, one of you brought up how you hearing it on the radio for the first time. So, you guys, if it comes on the radio now, you're in the car, you're somewhere, do you still listen? Do you change the channel? Do you sing along?
Okay, I don't want to answer that question.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll listen to the whole thing. I think it depends on what song it is and definitely what kind of mood I'm in. But I love it. Like if I have 2 boys, and if I have my sons in the car with me, I'm like, hey, look, your mom's on the radio.
Right.
So that's kind of fun.
Is it impressive or embarrassing to them?
Different. I think
Yeah.
sometimes, well, if it's just us, they're not embarrassed. If it's just us 3 in the car. But I think at one point, one of my sons, my younger of the 2, was not very revealing about what his mom did. But my older son, I think, always was kind of proud of it, you know.
You guys, the other day, probably a couple months ago, actually, my daughter was at a party, and she lives in New York, and they're holding the Let Me Be the One vinyl, the record, like the big, and she's like just dancing around with her friends and singing and having a big old time. I'm like, it's like when she was younger, she wasn't really, but now she's so proud of her mom, and she just, her 2 second moms, and she's so supportive, and she's singing as well now, doing her own thing, but it was so funny. It is really funny. My daughter said to me when she went to college, please tell my roommate to take Seasons Change off of her ringtone. I can't take it anymore.
Love that.
Was that a coincidence?
I don't know.
She was just a
I'd have
fan?
to ask.
Oh,
It was
that's
funny
interesting.
though.
Speaking of vinyl, Violet, you want to show them what you have there?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I pulled out most of my records.
Yeah, she's got it.
Oh, look at those.
I have my tape of What You Don't Know, the CD.
The
Oh my God.
All my 45s are at college, so
isn't the album or the vinyl album with the white cover?
That's a
We're
12.
all in jeans. Is that an import? Was that ever released here?
It is.
It's the 12-inch single of Tell Me Why.
Well, maybe it was. I think that was, we did the photo shoot in the UK, but yes. And that, we really lament the loss of that big artwork on albums. And then it just shrunken. It became like this shrunken little, I think we all really love to pull out the sleeve of that really big record.
That's why I love records.
Right. But I think they're coming back. They're coming back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was a statistic recently where I think it was vinyl outsold CDs for the first time since some year in 1980s. It's just
Yay. Now, Violet, do you have a record player, Violet?
I do. I have VHS tapes, cassettes, the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
She's legit.
Yeah. You're a trip. You are too much. That's awesome.
She is living like she's in the 1980s, or more authentically than me. I don't have any of those things.
I try, make up for lost time.
Yeah. So when you see those record labels or those photos, are you just transported back to those? I heard Ann talk about the photo shoot was in the UK. Are you just transported back to those moments? Are they still you still connected to those experiences?
I do. When I see the pictures, I can remember where we were, what the setting was. When I look at the album covers, and it brings back a whole flood of memories personally, and which is fun. And when we have wonderful pictures, actually, Jeanette has wonderful pictures that she's never shared with us. She has catalogs of pictures. We're like, why don't you share these physical? I'm talking, old school printed, pictures. Yeah. And so she's allowed us to view some of them, and
she let me take pictures of some of them. I was like, oh wow.
Well, she's got this amazing catalog, and one day she will digitize it and share it with all of us. But
one day,
the pictures are so much fun because they spring back all these wonderful memories of places.
That photo that's on that particular album, that white album there. I think of that photo session, Anna and Gioia, and I don't know if you remember, there was another shot that we took where I'm wearing a gold dress. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's what I think of when I think of that photo session, because they wanted me to put that dress on and I refused to try it on for some reason. And I think I was almost in tears. I was so angry because I just did not think that was fitting for me.
It was very fitting, actually.
It was, it was very fitted.
But
I look at it now, I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. I'm glad they talked me into it.
Right. You're going to have to send me a picture of that picture. I got to remember that one.
Yeah. That's funny.
Violet, I want to make sure you get to ask any questions you had.
Yeah. Speaking of outfits, we're talking about outfits. I was wondering, what was your favorite stage outfit that you ever wore on stage performing in the 80s?
Wow, I have one. Of course, I have pictures of it. I don't think you guys do.
Apparently not.
But for a while, I was really into Betsy Johnson. Do you remember that?
Sure.
And I loved the dresses with the polka dots and the big colorful flowers and the striped socks. I had a couple of those that I really loved wearing on stage.
Cool.
Yeah.
I loved, remember our designer, McCole Scholler? He,
Joy, you've been sporting that jacket lately too.
I still have
She's
this
still
stuff. I
That's
wore
awesome.
this jacket the other day. It's from 1986 and a half, maybe. I'm telling you, you guys, he made the greatest clothes. I mean, they're just beautiful. And I would wear these like hot pants and matching, like I had these orange hot pants and then an orange jacket with black and white and the number 13 on the back. It sounds ridiculous, but I freaking loved those outfits.
That's that little black fringe jacket that you have, right?
Like
I know,
bolero. But I still have the orange and I still have the 13 too.
And
I don't have the shorts anymore. Not that
totally shorts. And I was totally different from that. I was into the long jackets. So I love kind of that long, I think like Stevie Nicks, that was kind of my thing. And actually still is.
Yeah. Yep.
When you consider what you're going to wear performing, is it just in part of it a practical manner because you're going to be up there for a while? So it's like, what shoes won't be hurting by the end, or what can I move around in?
I love these questions. We've never been asked these questions.
I know
I just want to
good.
tell them how we do it, guys. What do we do?
I think shoes definitely have to be comfortable, although we have all been known to wear shoes that are not comfortable in whatsoever way. But we love them because of what they look like. And then we're sorry after. I think sometimes we bring shoes to walk to the stage with. And then have our stage shoes just for the stage because
I do.
Or to get back to the hotel.
And Jeanette wears the highest heels, though. That girl, you could sport some freaking inches on your feet. I can't even. But she's the youngest one, and I'm always like, just wait. Just wait. A couple more years.
Wait 2 more years.
You'll be gelling. You'll be diving Dr. Scholl.
And I'm like the Amazon woman of the group at a whopping 5'4.5". And I'm like, I dwarf these two, whatever I wear. But I think it's probably my least favorite thing about performing in total is packing and trying to. I mean, you think we would be experts at this point, but it's a drama every time we go to a show. Okay, there's text back and forth. What are we wearing? What's the theme this time? What are we pulling together?
What's the colors? Joy,
do you have a belt? I forgot my belt. Yeah.
Oh, a lot of coordination.
Is it black and shiny, black and sparkly, black and gold? And then we're like, no, we need color. And then it's color. And no pastels.
I forgot to bring bracelets. Did any of you guys bring extra jewelry? I need something sparkly. Yeah, that's the conversation that goes on in hotels and in the dressing room.
Well, I got to see you guys back in February. I keep saying February, November at the Freestyle Free For All in Atlantic City, and I thought you guys looked really cool.
Oh, that was
did a great performance. So
that was a fun show.
Yeah,
that was black and red.
That's right. We were
Violet,
have some videos.
I totally remember you. I remember seeing you. I'm kidding. I don't.
Oh, like what? Like no way.
That was a Saturday Night Live skit once. Oh, I remember you. Like Paul Simon was like, "Yeah, weren't you in the front row?" Yeah, no,
I was like all the way back.
Oh, never mind. That's you.
Yeah,
you probably would remember her though. I don't imagine most folks show up looking the way Violet does.
I would say that is correct. And if there's ever another show, you must come and say hello, Violet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be at that show too, Violet.
I brought my record with me, and I was we're walking around the hotel. We're like, we got to run into somebody. We did.
But no.
But hey, I get to interview you guys. This is really awesome.
It's great.
I know you had a question about them performing. Violet was about
So I had 2 questions. What was your favorite song you recorded in general? It could be anything. And then what is your favorite to perform?
Performing Point of No Return is just the energy that we get from the crowd is just beyond. And I remember we used to do this dance remember when we used to our back would be to the stage, guys, and our arms would go out in a big circle, and we would all be looking at the back of the stage and then hear them screaming and kind of eyeballing each other like, oh my God, this is so cool, you know. So that was really cool. And it's still to this day, it's the one that gets everybody just amped up.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there just like a moment of silence? Your backs are there, and then you hear do 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 do.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that's the most favorite song
Most
to
fun.
perform because it's sort of like the show leads up to that, and that's generally the end, the last song, and there it's like everybody anticipates it. We finally get there, and it never disappoints.
Yeah, everyone's dancing, and it's just it's a great, very energetic feeling to be up there and performing that song. I'd have to agree with the girls.
We actually segued into a dance remix of it. Chris Cox did for us, and it's amazing. Jeanette holds this note out, and it's just like,
I remember that. I was like, oh
it
my
was
gosh,
great, right?
awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I'm if we don't do it during a show, I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean we're not doing it? We got to do it. You know, I just loved it. That made it really rock for me. I love just bringing it from the '80s into into now. It feels good.
Right.
It still works.
Recording wise, I don't know if there's any one particular song. I love being in the studio. I can tell you that. I remember being in the studio, and I wasn't even the one recording, but I remember being in the studio while Joy was doing something. I don't know if you were doing a couple of fixes. No, it was, well, yeah, I remember that too. That was gorgeous. But I remember being in a studio with you for Let Me Be the One. And I loved it. I just loved it. I loved being in there and just listening. That's one of my favorite memories. Annie, I remember being in the studio with you when you were singing As Long as I Can Dream. No, not As Long as I Could Dream. Yeah, As Long as I Could Dream. And how beautiful you sounded. I like being an audience member in the studio, I think, and just getting all the background parts right. And it's just fun hanging out in the studio. I miss it. Even though I was in there yesterday, but but you guys weren't there with me.
Yeah. Did Anne have a favorite? I don't remember now. I'm trying to keep track.
Annie, do you have a favorite that you recorded?
I have total amnesia. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
I love creating with the group, and I think the last recording that we did, guys, even we did some re-recording of some of our songs, and it's just fun to be in the studio together because we just end up giggling, and it's just that sense of that chemistry that we have even when our voices blend. So yeah, I mean, no specific time or song, but just overall, it's great to be in the studio.
Okay, I have one. I was with Annie when, I don't know how many years ago it was, but she sang a song that she wrote with a couple of friends called Shine On. And her mom, I'm sorry, Annie, her mom had recently passed. I recently lost my mom too. So it's just, it's a very difficult place to be. And I think, Annie, I don't think it was very, very long after your mama passed, but I couldn't believe you were there. And you sang, and it was like, I felt her shining through you, and you were hitting these notes, and you were just, I can't say the word, but effing awesome. And I just was like, my entire body was like goosebumps on top of goosebumps. And the sun was coming in. It was just the weirdest thing. I just felt like I was experiencing like an out of body sort of a moment, like where I just felt Anne's spirit and her mom's spirit connecting. And I just couldn't believe she could do it, like just flawlessly. It was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do remember that, and it was special. And I don't know how I did it either, but
I know. I was like, she's never going to. We can't do it. We're not going to do it. I wouldn't have been able to, because I'd cry at the a Kodak commercial and ridiculous. But
Kodak, geez, babe, that's aging yourself right
well,
there.
hey, we're talking 80s here, babe.
80s. Yes,
I love it.
So I see we're about out of time here. I want to check in with Violet. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we say goodbye or wrap up?
I was just wondering, would you guys ever record a new 80s influenced album together? Or any new music is in the works?
I don't know about an entire album, but I think a song or two would be a lot of fun.
Talk about
But I don't know. I just think if it's something that we were doing together as Exposé, it would automatically be considered an 80s
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we're talking about
influence.
Christmas songs too, right, guys?
Oh.
Maybe if not for this Christmas, next. But
Oh,
yeah, we're
wow.
like, it's exciting to think about doing new stuff. Although I'm telling you, the fans want the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's what
Sure.
they want it, they demand it, and they're upset if you don't do it. You know.
Yes, I can speak as an old curmudgeon myself. Yes, that's how I feel too.
Same.
But we're so, and I'll just wrap up here. We're so grateful that you're still out there doing it for that very reason. I mean, we fell in love with your music and with you three ladies so long ago, but to see you still out there doing it, and what seems like with the same passion and energy that you had back in the 1980s, as fans, we are truly grateful. And also thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time today.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It's lovely.
Thank you for
you.
your time and interest, and thank you to everyone out there who continues to come to our shows year after year. We are so lucky and blessed, and I know it just sounds kind of kitschy, but it's so true. We are all so grateful that we're still out there and being able to do what we love, and it just means the world to us. Thank you, everyone.